From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks. It's Tuesday, good show on tap for you. So much happening in the great city of Nashville, Tennessee. Some good, some maybe not so good, some controversial. Hey, look, this is a fast-growing town. A lot changes, and our city council and mayor and vice mayor are always very busy. So we'd like to talk to them about it, whether you live in the Nashville central area or you are a visitor that comes from one of those surrounding counties. Hey, this is a show that should be of interest to you, especially with some of the topics we're going to be talking about with what's going to happen tonight at the council meeting. And for that, the person who will be presiding over that, trying to maintain order at something that is always entertaining and provocative, that being the council meeting. And I think those same two words could be applied to our guest, entertaining and provocative, Vice Mayor Jim Shulman.
I've never had those two words used.
Entertaining and provocative.
To describe me at the same time.
You will. I mean them in the most flattering of ways. Thank you for coming on.
I think I'm going to write them down so I can remember.
I'll remind you. It's good to have you on. We just have to cover some ground here. Like I said, we'll open up the phone lines. But I was kind of listening. We had a story in the morning news, kind of going down some of what's going to be on the agenda of tonight's council meeting. And some of it's pretty interesting. You know, more interesting than maybe other times. You want to talk about what's on the agenda, what you think will get people's attention?
Yeah, I heard Rebecca talking about the list.
Yeah, right.
So it's a public hearing night tonight. So we have zoning bills up first.
Okay.
And there's a couple that have spurred some interest. There's one up in District 1, and I'm not sure what the council member is going to do there. We have an issue going on in Southeast Antioch about a development. I think that one's going to be deferred tonight. So we may get through the public hearing fairly quickly. It's bills on second reading that are going to be interesting.
Okay.
We have 3 on license plate readers, and we have what I would call an open container law. Which I know Rebecca talked about. Right now in the state of Tennessee, the driver cannot have an open container. They can't.
That's the state law. Now, in a lot of states, you know, which makes the most sense to me, to be honest with you, you can't have any open containers in a vehicle because it tempts fate, right? If an open bottle of whiskey, you know, the driver might take a sip and hand it to the passenger. But in Tennessee, and this is when I moved here, back in '95, I remember realizing, wait a second, I can be driving, but my friend over here can open a beer and drink legally. And that's the law. I remembered it being told to me, Nick, one reason we think this passed is because at the time, of course, Tennessee football was king. They were winning national championships, and it's kind of like the tailgating rule. They passed it because so many people from around the state would tailgate to Knoxville for games and drive there. They wanted in their RVs to be able to have a beer or whatever while they're driving there. Not the driver, but the passenger. So they passed a law allowing open containers in the state, which to me, just everywhere I've lived before, that's not allowed. And I think most of us, you know, who of course abhor, you know, drunk driving, understand why. It tempts fate to have an open container in the seat with the guy next to you drinking a whiskey while you're driving. It just tempts fate.
Well, so it'll be interesting to watch the debate tonight for a couple different reasons. One is that the state law allowed counties to be able to restrict open
so they could
containers.
Shut it down, meaning in Nashville you could have nothing open.
Right. So how do you define, I mean, how do you enforce that? I think if somebody's stopped, I think it's a $50 fine.
Right.
So what are you going to, how are the police going to stop that?
It's just happenstance. If they get you on another stop, they add that on top if they see it in there.
That's
or if you're at a stop sign or something and an officer's in a proximity and sees you pitching one back,
yeah,
you could, I guess, because other than that, you're not going to be stopping people randomly to see if they have open containers in their vehicle.
And I don't think, I mean, I think it probably makes a lot of sense. The two issues that flow from it, one is enforcement, and then other counties. So you can't have an open. You can't.
Yeah,
that's where
there's no consistency.
You can't have an open container. If we pass this measure, you can't have one in Davidson County, but as soon as you get to Wilson County, you can have one.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So how are you going to deal with that? How are the police going to enforce that? And then the second part is obviously we're now I mean, the state passed the bill. Are they going to come back behind us and say we can't do that because of the enforcement mechanisms between can you have an open container in this county but not in that county? How does that work? We'll have to see. But I'm glad he brought it.
That, or what's the idea behind this?
It's Councilmember Parker. He's got a number of people on the bill.
Is it just they're concerned about DUIs in the county?
Most likely. We haven't really had the discussion. We'll have the discussion today. So I'm glad he brought the bill. It's going to be an interesting discussion.
Has that been brought up before in the county, or is this a relatively new law that the state allows you to modify the existing?
I've never, I've been around the council for a long time.
Right.
I've never seen this one come up before. It may have. I just haven't seen it.
I don't recall it either. It's interesting. So they'll talk about that. And would you imagine, I guess the opposition would be what you just said. Look, there's no consistency. Someone driving in from Wilson County gets nailed because all of a sudden it's different county to county to county. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think people will have a good discussion on it. We'll see. I think the question is the enforcement part of it.
Yeah.
And but we can go ahead and pass it. The question will be, will anybody follow suit, or will something else happen where we can't do it? But interesting bill. I'm glad he brought it.
And by the way, going back, and we'll cover the others too. On the red light camera, where are we on that? I thought that kind of license plates. I'm sorry, license plate readers.
Yeah. So 2 meetings ago, the council passed a 6-month pilot, which hasn't even started yet. They're still they've got a long way. Well, long way for some things. They're going to have to go figure out how to do it, get somebody to contract it out. I think there's supposed to be a public hearing before any of this stuff happens. We have a couple of bills coming behind it tonight, even though it's passed, to modify it. One is to provide a definition for personal information, which wasn't defined in the actual bill, in the sense that, so there's a bill coming to actually define it in terms of what really is prohibited. There's a second bill that deals with what information we can give to federal authorities. There's a question about whether that one actually can stand muster under current Tennessee law. And there's a third bill that allows an extra person to review a lot of the information, Executive Director of the Community Oversight Board.
Okay.
So we'll have 3 separate bills up tonight on that.
Okay. You think most people, the public, are in favor of license plate readers? I'm trying. The reason I misspoke and said red light cameras is because there are some communities that have those red light cameras and there are others that had them and said, we don't like them, and got rid of them. I mean, there's as many that don't like the idea of red light cameras taking a picture and sending you a ticket in the mail because maybe you didn't come to a complete stop and they nail you. They've gone away. We don't have them in Nashville. And so I wonder if the same argument is there. I mean, are people real excited about license plate readers? I think it can help law enforcement. What's your thought on that? What are you hearing from your constituents?
So the donut counties around us have them. Okay, and so they can use them to find people that they're looking for. Yeah. In terms of, or at least find the vehicles. And,
like if it, yeah.
So there were a number of neighborhoods that came to us pretty early on and said, we want to reduce crime. This is what we want to do. And they actually didn't wait for us. Some of them went ahead and did them anyway. And they can actually tell you that they've seen a reduction in crime. I think as long as the program is controlled, so that we're not just, we're not following you wherever you go. You leave the station and we want to go. We want to know where Nick Barris is going after work. We're not supposed to be doing that. That's illegal, and that's not supposed to happen. Can somebody do it? Yes, we can do all kinds of different things. The main purpose behind this is to find serious criminals that you're looking for. So if you...
Or a stolen car.
Or a stolen car. If you're looking for somebody and you're trying to figure out what happened and you're looking for somebody and you want to get them off the street, you can find them fairly quickly. The benefit... and to me, that's a benefit. It's another tool to try to deal with serious crime. The thing that really kind of makes the bill for me, or at least makes me understand a little bit more, is both silver alerts and amber alerts. So if you're looking for a child that has been abducted, if you're looking for an older individual that may have taken off and may have Alzheimer's but may be in a car, as you drive down the interstate, you see the signs, amber alert, silver alert, and you've got the driver's license. Those things can help find people much faster.
I hadn't thought of that, because I was about to say, I'm kind of ambivalent on it. I mean, again, municipalities do this individually. This is not a state program, right? I mean, right? It's not a state
municipalities
program.
can do it
Each
individually.
county's doing it.
Yeah.
It's not states doing this. The state's not doing it.
The state can do it on the roads that they control, but in terms of a city and the city streets that we have
Okay, I guess I didn't know whether the states are, but because, you know, the little controversy is whether the new look plates, which, by the way, I like the new look, can be read by these plate readers. And I'm like, well, whatever, you know? I mean, I'm not up in arms over that. I like the idea what you said about having license plate readers maybe for, you know, amber alerts and silver alerts. I think I don't, like I said, if we had them, I'm okay with it. If we don't have them, I don't really care. That's just me. But, you know, one way or the other, I don't know what the cost is.
It's a 6-month pilot project. The contract will come back before the city, so we can figure out exactly how much it's going to cost. If it doesn't work, we get rid of it.
Yeah, and you said you're hearing that when you say that they've seen a reduction in crime, I'm not sure I buy that. License plate readers bringing a huge reduction in crime. I believe it might help solve crimes and help catch people once the crime occurs, but I don't see license plate readers reducing crime. I just don't buy it.
I think what the neighborhoods will tell you is that they probably have signs posted, cameras up there, and they're saying, you know, don't come in here.
And maybe so. Maybe that does work. All right, listen, we'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we've got calls on the line. Tom, Ann, and others. If you'd like to ask a question of the Vice Mayor, we'll talk more about tonight's agenda. We can also, you know, see whether or not the Vice Mayor thinks it's a good idea to drop $3 to $4 billion on a new football stadium. It's being floated. It's being floated. How are we going to pay for it? We'll see. We'll take a break and be back with more of your calls coming up right after this.